Hey, Rick, James Tillett. It's hard with the two L's, but phenomenal guest. You can see why he's a rising guru.
Yeah, you can. He has a lot of knowledge. What's so interesting is he has such a big career. He's a rising guru, and he's new to real estate, but he has tremendous amount of experience, military experience, and he just a world experience. He has so much to offer, and he really understands, I believe, how to work with people and how to help people get what they want.
Yep, and that's the key thing, especially with him, is communication, making sure he's able to break down, no matter what scenario, he can break it down easily for a customer to understand.
Yeah, he can. And he's got a great team that he's with. It's Blueprint Realty.
Yep.
And they're from what he's telling us, they're just a phenomenal place, and he's got great mentors, which is what it takes. It takes somebody who's got a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, a lot of he works hard, and yet he has a good team behind him to make sure he does the right things and helps his customers out.
Yep. So definitely tune in for James's show, and you will not be disappointed. I'll tell you that.
Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus, your ultimate guide to the dynamic world of real estate in Indiana. And I'm Rick Ripma, your hardworking mortgage guy, and I've been in real estate and mortgages for over 24 years.
And I'm Ian Arnold, a loan officer on Rick's hardworking mortgage team, and we are both with Advisors Mortgage Group. Together, we'll empower you with expert advice, market trends, and successful stories from guru realtors and local experts.
Whether you're a homeowner, investor, or pro, join us as we navigate the thriving Indy real estate market.
Now get ready to unlock the doors of success, one episode at a time.
Well, today we have James Tillett, and James is with Blueprint
Real Estate Group.
And you have a very, very interesting background because you're fairly new to real estate, but what you've done is very interesting, and you've been in the military. We really want to hear your story. What was life like before real estate? Where did you grow up? What all did you do?
So I grew up in Missouri, in a town about 100 miles north of Kansas City, near the Iowa state line up there. And went to high school there and college there at Northwest Missouri State University. Okay. Got married right before left college, and went directly into the military as a second lieutenant. Went down to Fort Benning for my schooling, and then we deployed to Germany for my first duty station.
And you were in the Army?
We're in the Army.
Okay.
So we really enjoyed Germany, and we came back and then was at Fort Benning again for schooling, and then to Fort Drum, New York, part of the 10th Mountain Division. And I left active duty after that, and decided to do some other things. And so worked with manufacturing, mostly automotive and those type of things in the management side of the house.
Okay.
And also did some logistics and those type of things throughout my career, but also was in the Army Reserve and was mobilized again after 9/11, and spent the next 7.5 years mobilized most of the time during that time frame before I retired in 2012. Spent time teaching and helping staffs at the brigade and battalion and division level know how to function inside the war zone. So in Afghanistan and Iraq. So we taught them ways to handle all of the incoming processes and all the situations that might occur, and built that and spent 2 weeks with them at the mobilization station going through that to teach them how to do that. After that, like I said, spent a lot of time in manufacturing and those type of things. Had the opportunity, a friend of mine decided to tell me to come and say, hey, what do you think about real estate? I said, well, I'm not sure. I've always thought about something like that. I've always been interested in real estate, investing in those type of things. And I said, well, maybe let me think about it. And so I talked to my wife, and she said, well, let's think about it. She comes to me a few days later and says, James, I think we need to do this. And so I thought about it another day, and I said, I think you're right. And so I started getting my license and jumped in, and I've really enjoyed being in real estate. It's really been something that I didn't think it would be as fun as it is, but it really is. Helping people is really what I really enjoy doing.
So I got to go back to your military past, and probably not where you think I'm going, because I want to know what it's like to drive on the Autobahn in Germany.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. At the time I shipped my car, where it was a Pontiac Grand Am, and
Okay.
and there were times that we got on the Autobahn, and I would put the pedal down to the floor and go, and the speedometer goes to 140 miles an hour. It would go beyond that, and while I was on the Autobahn on occasion. So it was a lot of fun. You have to be very careful at that speed, because everything comes so much quicker. You have to really pay attention to what's going on the road. But it is a lot of fun to drive a little bit faster.
Yeah, when you're driving that fast, like you said, things come up a lot faster, and it's little things can turn into big disasters.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so you got to be really careful, but it's got to be fun.
Yes, if the road's pretty clear, it really is a nice drive, and you don't think about the speed as much if there's not a lot of traffic. But if there's some traffic and there's cars that are in the one lane and you're coming up pretty quickly, you got to make sure that either you slow down or are able to get out into that other lane so that you can pass without any incident. And so I enjoyed that part. I tend to drive, fast. I have to start putting the cruise control on now, so I don't.
Me too.
Because I don't need to be going that fast anymore here in the United States.
Yeah. So did you ever have a time when you're cruising at 140 miles an hour and somebody just comes flying past you much, much faster?
Yes, many times. Many times. The Germans, they have it down pretty well, and they fly by pretty quickly.
They're used to it.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. And they got fast cars.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
A lot faster than I had at the time.
Well, if you're living there and you have the Autobahn, you're going to buy a car that can
Oh,
go.
absolutely. The Mercedes and the BMWs and those type of things had the extra power in there and no regulators. And so they were able to do that.
Yeah. Well, I know I've heard of where there's not many accidents, but man, when there's an accident on it, it's not pretty.
It is not pretty. There was a time we were on our way to an event that we ran into some fog, and the fog was very, very thick. And so I was always worried that as we were traveling a little bit slower because of the fog, that someone was still going to be crazy enough to drive fast and cut through the fog. And luckily we didn't have any issues, but once in a while you would hear of accidents like that that happened on the Autobahn.
Yeah, you can't go fast in snow, fog, any of that stuff. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Because people in Indiana, some reason, that first snow, they still think they can go 70 miles an hour.
They do indeed. There are a lot of them out there, and I don't know whether it is about current drivers, whether they think that there's just no problem with that, but it can be a big problem.
Yes.
And so I'm going to get back. As much as I love to talk about cars, I
like cars.
And me too. I want to, let's get back to your start in real estate.
Okay.
So, because real estate is not the easiest thing to get going in.
No.
So what is your process, or what has been your process? What do you do? What are you focusing on to get that business off the ground?
So it comes to personal relationships and building those with the clients that come to you, whether it's via leads or whether it's through your sphere of influence. All those people have to trust you to be able to really work with you and trust you in that process, because you're working with them on something that is one of the biggest purchases in their lives.
Right.
And they sometimes are very scared or worried that they're going to make the wrong decision. And you have to reassure them that, hey, this is okay, we'll go as slow as you need to go, and I will walk through with you every step of the way to make sure that you understand what's going on. And once you do that, people tend to kind of relax a little bit and say, okay, let's go, and we'll do that. So that's the thing. Building those relationships is important. Finding the leads and going out and talking to people. Wherever you're at, sitting down for lunch at a restaurant, having that conversation as you can with the waitress or whoever is there, and saying, "Hey, this is who I am," and it is a referral business, so
Right.
you have to make that a contact.
Yeah, and you never know who can buy a house or what their situation is, no matter who it is.
Exactly. There are some people that you start to work with, and you go, I'm figuring they're going to be in the 150 price range, and you find out that they're in the $400,000
Right.
price range, and you would never know.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can't judge a book by its cover.
No.
For sure. We all tend to want to do that, but you really can't do it. That's a bad thing to do.
So you did mention that you didn't realize it was as much fun. So define your fun in being a real estate agent.
I think the fun comes from helping others along the way to get what they are dreaming about. I think that's the biggest thing, and building those relationships. That's the fun part with me is building those relationships and understanding people and who they are. I don't have a lot of close friends, but as I've become more and more involved with real estate, I'm getting to have more of those relationships, and that's been the fun part.
Now, before you got into real estate, how long did you live here in Indiana?
A long time.
Okay.
So we moved here, 20 some years ago. Then I spent time when I was mobilized in Colorado and then in Chicago before I retired and then came back home.
Okay. So I was wondering, because that would make it even harder, but you have a sphere of influence here.
It is a small one, and that's what makes it a little more difficult for me. And I rely on leads a little bit more than I do the sphere of influence, because most of my sphere is outside the state of Indiana because of my military contacts and the people that I've met along the way. So that makes it a little bit more difficult for me, but I've been very lucky, I guess, in the leads that I've been able to generate, and I'm doing okay.
Where do you get your leads?
Through lead sources such as Realtor.com and those type of things.
Okay.
But those are the kinds that you have to basically cultivate, because some of them that you get aren't ready right away. And so you have to put it 90 days or so down the road, and you have to work with those individuals to get them pre-qualified and get them to make sure they understand what they want. And then you can go look and show some houses and say, okay, this is kind of where you're at. Does this make sense to you? Do you like what you see? And then from there, refine that process so that you're showing them what really they're interested in and what will fit for their lifestyle.
It's got to be satisfying.
It is. It's kind of like a puzzle, and once you have all the pieces together, it's a beautiful picture. But when you don't have all the pieces, you have to go and try to find out that information.
So when you first get into it, what was your expectation? And then what was the reality check?
When I first got into it, I expected that I would have leads generating, and I would have somebody coming to me and saying, hey, I want you to sell my house, or I want to buy a house with you. And the answer was no, not really. So that was an awakening, saying, well, I need to go do some work. And so I had to figure out how to do the work. And that was the great thing when I came to Blueprint, is they had a mentorship program that helped me in that process to really catapult me to be able to do well.
Yep. So I know we briefly talked about it before, but I think it's kind of nice to mention it on air. Is Blueprint was not your first company, but it's where you found a home.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit. You don't tell any bad things, but I mean, it's just about finding your own place.
No, I think the excitement was great to get me into the business, and I think that was what was really appealing. Once I got there with this other agency, there just wasn't the support that I needed, and they weren't able to provide me with that training that I really needed to be able to be successful. And so when I found Blueprint, I was able to then thrive because they basically pulled me in and said, okay, here's how we do this. Here's all the processes, all the forms that you need, and we'll go through each of them with you as you do them as we go forward. And if there was any questions, I was able to call somebody and say, hey, what about this? What about that? And that's what's been so great. And it's been more like a family and really a good team to work with.
Yeah, I think that's incredible that you were able to find that, because we've heard from some people that as they go to their first places, they may not have expected, all right, well, wait, you're not going to walk me through all this? Well, then there's other companies that will. But let's be honest, every team is going to be different. And no matter, even if it's personalities, it's finding that right team. And it's great that you found one.
I think I'm pretty lucky in a lot of cases in that instance because I found it early enough that I could really actually still survive that first year.
Yep.
Where a lot of agents don't.
Right.
So
it's amazing how many don't make it. I remember years and years ago when I was in the car business, I read something where they said the first 3 sales that a car salesperson misses is because they're afraid of the paperwork. Because they don't know how, and it's just what you're talking about.
It's very true with the real estate business. That paperwork is daunting. A purchase agreement, 8 pages long. You're going, okay, well, what's all in this document? You got to learn.
Yeah.
And when you do, you got to be able to share that with your clients, because I remember still one of the sales that I had, I spent 2 hours with these clients going line by line over the purchase agreement so they would understand when we put an offer in what that was, because they were new buyers. And I was happy to do that because that made that relationship much better.
Right. Then you help them. They understand. Yes. Probably helps you too, because you have to explain it.
Had to explain
the teacher always learns more than the student, right?
That's so true. That is so true.
Yeah. So if somebody is out there, they're going, man, I want to work with James. How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Best way is call or text. And my number is kind of a strange one because when I got my cell phone, it was in Colorado. I just kept it because most people that I know still know that number.
Right.
So my number is 720-891-6223. Again, 720-891-6223. Call or text anytime, and I'll answer.
And it's amazing how, because you and I I'm older than you, but you and I have
not sure about that, but we'll
a little more experience. So, but I'm sure you remember when, it was long distance. You could never do that.
Oh, no.
30 years ago, nobody would call you because they're not going to spend the money for long distance.
Oh, no. I remember when I was in high school trying to date, and my girlfriend lived 40 miles away. It was a long distance call. My dad actually brought me the phone bill and said, James, you're going to pay this because all of the calls are yours. And I looked at the bill, and it was $400, and I was a little taken aback, and so we didn't call as often.
I'll bet not. $400.
$400.
Whew. And we think our bills are high now.
Exactly.
Yeah. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. You can find all our information there, or you can give us a call at 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
All right. So we're going to take a side detour. We're going to get to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
So when you're not working, what are you doing for fun?
Well, my wife and I love to travel when we can. And before I got into real estate, we would go weekend trips and that kind of stuff and do a lot of those things. And we really enjoy that. The other passion I have is cars. I have a 1975 MG Midget that's running. It needs some work on the inside and some paint on the outside, but it's a fun car to drive, and I really enjoy that. And eventually I'll get the rest of it done. But it's taken me almost a year to get the engine and work done where it will run. So it's
That's
up and
a
running
big
now.
deal.
Oh, it is.
If you got it running, that's huge.
It is. I'd had some work done on it early on. I've had this midget since I was a captain, and when I went back to the advanced course at Fort Benning, and I've kept it all this time and had some work done on it over the years. And the last time I had engine work done on it, somehow they didn't get the cam in there correctly, and so it would not run at the higher speeds very well because it was just trying to get that synchronization between the fuel and the air and stuff, and so finally it took us a long time to get that figured out that was the problem. And once we got that done, it runs really well, and I'm really happy about it.
Yeah. I will say this. I used to run a service shop and everything. So we had an MG come in, and they were a couple of the fuses went. And what you don't realize is there's only 4 fuses in that car.
Oh, yes.
And they're the old glass ones. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the price, and he was like, "Oh, that's going to get really expensive." Like, what are you talking about? I can buy these fuses for like $2 online.
Yeah.
I can have them in a couple of days. They were like, what? And then even my tech jumped in, and he's like, I love this car. Because watch, I can stand inside the engine bay. So, I mean, those are so simpler to fix, then especially nowadays where everything's electronic, everything has safety guards. And so...
Well, the only issue that is with the midgets is they have a dash pot on them for the carburetor, and you have to have them. There's a little reservoir that has some oil in there to keep it lubricated so that it runs properly, and that's really the issue that I've had most of the time when I've had this thing is making sure that that's done so that it runs well.
Yep.
Would you like to sometimes talk to the engineers who came up with some of this crazy things that they come up with?
Yeah, I would. To include the way the midgets are wired, they're actually wired opposite of most other cars. So they're, instead of negative ground, they're positive ground.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Does that change anything, like if you had to jump it or anything? Or
no, they'll still jump normal, but because you'll connect both on both sides, so it still works.
What's the benefit of having it the opposite? Is there any?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Do you know any?
No.
It just
I'm not an electrical engineer. I'm sorry.
It just seems weird to me. It just seems weird to me. So, in your business, what are you most confident in?
I think I'm most confident in the ability to wade through the many things that happen and get that done in a timely manner, so that my clients feel comfortable with the process. I'm very detailed when it comes to timelines and everything else, probably because of my military background. Timelines are important, and hitting those deadlines are important so that you get things done and the process flows properly.
And our industry is pretty deadline, organized.
Yes,
you got
it
to
is.
Get your appraisal by this time. You got to get your inspection by this time. You got to do an inspection response. So it's very detail oriented. So along with that, probably my favorite question is, what would you say your superpower or superpowers are, and then how do they benefit your client?
I asked my wife about that because I wasn't sure what I should say there. And she said, you should just tell them that you are outstanding in customer service. And I'm going, well, exactly that does that mean? And she says, you're good with people, and you know how to talk to them and how to really help them understand the process. And I think that's the best thing that you have going for you.
Yeah. So your strength is you're good at explaining complex situations and making them understandable.
Yes.
That's a huge strength.
It is. I'm glad for that. I think part of that becomes from my obsession of learning the process and understanding each of those things, so that when people ask a question, I can have an answer that's confident and they can see that.
Yeah. And it seems like another superpower of yours, I'm going out on a limb because I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'm right, is that you're a learner.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That was what was really lacking initially when I first got into real estate, and that's when I found Blueprint. It made things so much better because I had a chance to learn, and I still do. And they are very good at having foundation classes and those type of things on a regular basis so that I can go and learn. But I do a lot of that on my own as well. Looking things up on the internet or listening to the podcast or something of that nature that helped me in my business.
Yeah. I think it makes a world of difference. I'm the same way. I'm on podcasts, audio books. I'm reading a book, always doing something because you always got to benefit yourself.
You do.
Become more knowledgeable. It's not just benefiting you, it's benefiting your client. It makes you better.
Oh, absolutely. Through the process, through the mentoring process and stuff, my mentor really had to joke with me because most of the transactions that I had initially were very difficult transactions. A lot of different paperwork that's not normal for a normal transaction. And she keeps telling me that I've probably done almost all of the types of transactions and paperwork that goes with that in the first 3 or 4 or 5 months than most agents see in 3 or 4 or 5 years. So it's kind of fun. That means that I'm a little more knowledgeable than some of the other agents that are just starting new, and even some of the more experienced agents that have not experienced some of the things that I've experienced.
Yep. So it's funny little story is we've had some gurus on and they go through, they were like, oh, the most memorable one was my first deal. And I'm like, well, why is that? And then they'll go, everything flowed smoothly. Nothing, no hiccups, nothing. And then I get back and just like you talked about your mentors and they'd be talking to theirs and they'd be like, yeah, don't get used to this. This doesn't happen very often. No. But then you're going through all the rough times and you're like, can I just get one good one? Just one quick, easy one.
And I've had those. There have been a couple of them that's been fairly simple. But the first 3 or 4 were stretches in a lot of cases. We had a client that one of my first clients wanted to buy a piece of property outside of Indianapolis, and so we were traveling an hour and 15 minutes to go look at some properties, and then realizing that we had to work with other agents that maybe were not as familiar with some of the things that we were wanting to do. He was a veteran, and so we were looking at VA loans and those type of things. And some of the agents have not ever seen some of those things, at least not in a long time, and so I had to educate some of those along the way and filled out, I don't know, all the different kinds of paperwork to include referrals for other agents because he decided he wanted to look at a property in Illinois. It didn't work out, which is fine, but did all those things. And Summer says, you've done just about everything that there is to do. So.
And who Summer?
Summer Thomas. She's okay. One of the mentoring brokers, managing brokers at Blueprint, and she is the person that really does the mentoring for the brokerage.
It sounds like she's meant a lot to you in your career.
She has been a wonderful asset to me in that process.
That's awesome. She's been in the business a while, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Only 3 months.
No, you don't have to have. I think time matters, but I think experience in that time matters a lot more.
I would agree.
And so I've seen people, you probably have too, that they have 30 years, but that's 1 year experience 30 times, as opposed to 30 years of that's why I think one of your superpowers was learning, because you're a learner. And so when you have 30 years experience, you have 30 years experience.
Yes.
Maybe even more, because you can, if you put enough effort in, you can even get more experience in that time frame, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's important. It sounds like one of your other superpowers is attracting difficult deals.
It seems that way.
Yeah, sounded like it. I don't know.
No, but I am happy for all of those because it is a learning process. And as I take those deals and work with those clients, even though there may be some difficulty in the process or with the client, that still is a learning process for me, and I gain something from it as well as the client.
Yep. I think it's one of the most satisfying. I actually don't have, I actually enjoy most of the non-vanilla. Not that I don't enjoy the vanilla one,
yes.
all right? But it makes you think. It makes you work. It makes you learn. It makes you just better. So for me, I don't really mind those as long as you can figure it out and make it work for them.
Right.
You know, make everything happen.
Well, I think that's what's maybe different about me is I do like those because I can then say, hey, I can figure this out, and I am the one of a type of person that says, hey, if there's a problem, I can solve it. If I can't solve it, I'll go find someone that can help me solve it.
Right.
To get this done. And that's more satisfying than going through the process and saying, okay, this is going to be real simple and we're going to go from A to B in 30 days and I'm not going to have to do very much at all. I would rather have something that I had to take care of a little more often just because it keeps me sharp as well as learning.
Yep.
All right. So if somebody wants to give you some more knowledge so you can pack it all in, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
You can call or text me at my on my cell phone at 720-891-6223. Again, 720-891-6223. Or I suppose you can send me an email, but it's a really long one. It's jamestillettrealtor@gmail.com.
And Tillett has 2 T's on the end.
T's on the end. That's
right.
correct.
It's probably easier to call you or text you.
Yes, absolutely. That'd be easier.
And I know for me, I'll just like text my email sometimes. It's just easier because emails get a little difficult sometimes.
They do, and I do that a lot.
Yeah.
So they'll call me or text me, and then I'll just say, hey, send some information, send it to my email. Here's my email.
Yep.
I mean, it's just the easiest way because you'll have you have 2 L's and 2 T's, and somebody just miswrites one. You never hear from them. You're like waiting for that email. It's just easier. Hey, text me really quick, and I'll send you a quick email. And have everything on there. It just makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I agree.
Ian's good at making things simple.
Yes.
He's very attuned to that.
Yes.
I like simple, and that's why I think I try to understand the process as much as I do, because when you understand the process, it makes things more simple.
Yeah.
You can streamline it to however it fits you, and it makes it nice and easy.
And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can give us a call at 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
All right. So I'm kind of curious if we've already heard about this car or we're going to hear about a different one. But what was your first car?
My first car was a 1970 Pontiac Phoenix with a Landau top.
I didn't know if you're about to say Pontiac Grand Am again, and that's the one you shipped over. So,
no, actually, I had that until we shipped to Germany. I sold it right before we left for Germany, and we'd already bought the other car, but it was an older car, so we're talking 7 or 8 years old when I bought it. So
The 70 Phoenix.
70 Phoenix.
And I, for some reason, can't place a Phoenix for, I mean, I kind of can, but I think it was a later version. I can't, what was it? Was it a 2 or a 4-door?
It was a 2-door.
Okay.
I think they did make 4 doors, but the one I had was a 2-door. And it had the leather top on half of the top up there. And
what size motor?
It was probably a 305.
Okay. So decent size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an 8-cylinder.
Yeah. So was it smaller or bigger than a Grand Prix? Those type of year Grand Prix?
Probably just a little bit smaller because it was a 2-seater.
Okay.
Well, 2-door, but had the seat in the back. But there was not much room in the back for a lot. So
okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like it was a great car to have as your first car.
It was.
Yeah.
It really was.
The reason why Rick always asks about the engine size is because his first one had the 12-inch foot pedal. You just had to use your feet like Fred Flintstone.
No, it didn't. It darn near did. And the first car, my parents had a Gremlin. And,
Yeah. So yeah,
those.
Yeah.
you open the door and start.
Yeah, pretty much, and they rusted out pretty quickly too. And then they got rid of that and they got a Pacer.
Pacers.
Oh yeah, what
Those
a
were
beautiful
even
car.
worse.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. It actually was a nice car, a comfortable car.
Yes.
The Pacer was very comfortable, as long as it wasn't sunny, because it'd get really hot in there. But it was wide and it had a good track. But it was ugly.
Yes.
But my dad he owned a bunch of AMC stock. So we could buy AMC cars. They wouldn't get me an AMX or a Javelin. No. So it was kind of unfortunate for me.
Well, I actually, just after I was married, we actually owned a Gremlin.
Did you?
Hatchback. So
They're kind of coming back. People are starting to, I see them I go to a lot of car auctions. The first one I saw was probably 10 years ago, and it was in the parking lot. It wasn't even in the auction or anything else. Just somebody drove it there. Now you're starting to see them, people wanting them.
it's the nostalgia, I think.
Yeah.
AMC made some good cars at the time, but Gremlin was not really one of those great cars.
I'm not sure which one was a good one.
Well, the Javelin wasn't too
Javelin AMX were nice cars, but when you compare them to like a Mustang or a Camaro or a Charger or Challenger, I mean, it's kind of hard to.
The muscle cars are really where it's at.
Yeah.
So, since you're a car guy, what do you drive now?
Well, I drive a Nissan Maxima,
Okay.
so it's got a little bit of get up and go, and
They're nice.
I love the new body style with the two-tone paint where the roof is usually a different color than the sides.
you know, it depends
On the color combination, yes.
on the cover color combination. I would some of that is great if it's the right combination and it's done well. I love it, but I'm kind of a plain guy, and so a plain color across the board, I'm okay with that too.
You can't really go wrong with that unless it's a really bad color.
Right.
Like I bought a car one time. It was a Blazer, and I wanted a white one because I like white cars, and they didn't have one, and I needed a car, and I bought and it was purple. I could not wait to get rid of it. I didn't keep it but a year. I just hated that car. Oh. And it wasn't, my wife loved it. And I should just give it to her and drove something whatever she was driving. Because I did not, it wasn't a bad car. It's just I never felt comfortable in it because it was purple.
I had a boss one time that had a purple pickup truck, and it was a nice purple. It was a deeper purple.
Yeah.
But
this was a nice purple.
I just don't. I'm not a purple person, I guess.
Yeah, I like purple, but I don't like a purple. I like a white car, black car. I like just the pretty plain, like you do. Although I do like the new Blazers and things. I do like where if it's white, I think it's the white with the black on top, or vice versa. One of the ways I like it, one of the ways I don't like it. Yeah, just personally.
Well, my midget is electric blue, which is a kind of a rare color for the midgets that you see around. Most of them are red or green, but mine's an electric blue. You're
going to keep it that way then, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it original paint or you?
It is original paint.
Wow. And it's a 75?
75.
Wow.
But it's got some rust spots going through, so I will have to get it repainted.
Yeah.
Before too long, but it's original paint.
And you didn't buy it new, but you've had it a long time.
Yes, a long time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
30 years almost.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That car's 9 years older than I am.
See? And I'm probably 90 years older than you.
No, probably pretty close between you and Rick.
Yeah, that car's. I was born well before that car was made.
Well, I was born well before that car was made too. So.
All right. Well, I want to hurt anybody's feelings, mainly yours. I don't care about Rick's. But all right. So we've all had new jobs, and we've all had to learn from doing things the wrong way. Is there any lesson you learned?
Boy, that's a good question. I think the lesson is to be meticulous about the paperwork, especially. If you miss something in that paperwork, it can be bad for your client. And so as you go through that, and there's one of the deals that we almost made a mistake, but thankfully through the mentorship program, I called and said, hey, can you check this over before I send it? And they caught it, and I said, great, thank you. So that's the important part is being meticulous about how you set that thing up and what your client really wants and needs in that paperwork. And I think that's important.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we had a guy on the other day, and he was talking that was not after the inspection came back. They wanted a certified mold guide, and he just said certified guide. Well, guess what? Anybody can be certified.
Yeah. Certified contractor is what it was. Is what he said.
Yeah. So it's great that you have that mentorship. Like, hey, look, can you just double check my work and just make sure I'm not missing anything? Because you are correct. This stuff is very legal, as so to speak.
Yes, it is.
But it's not only good you have the mentorship. It's also good that you have you feel comfortable asking for the help to make sure it's okay. Because a lot of people won't do that.
That's true. And I think that's what's nice about Blueprint is because we truly are a team and a family. I can call any of the three managing brokers, and they will stop what they're doing if it's possible, or they'll call me back as quickly as possible, and they will answer a question for me, either via text or call or whatever I need to make sure that things are good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what has become clearer to you as you've aged?
That I'm getting old.
Yeah, well, we all are. Even Ian's getting old. He just doesn't,
he's
he
still
just
just
doesn't
a
know
young
it.
guy.
He doesn't know it yet.
I think as I've gotten older, I've learned that everything doesn't have to be fast. It can take time, and sometimes taking the time really is to your advantage, as well as better for you and whoever you're working with.
Whoa. That's different from the whole norm of the United States of America. Everything has to be done now, sir.
Well, I think in a lot of cases people think that.
Yes.
And in reality, it doesn't have to be. It can be, you can decide how quickly or how slowly you move through a process, as well as things that are happening in your personal life, how quickly or fast things need to happen for you and what you're comfortable with. So that's what's nice about working with clients is you take their timeline. Whether it means that they're ready to go and they're a cash buyer and they can close in 10 days, or whether it's a first-time home buyer and it's going to take 30 to 45 days to figure out what they want and get pre-qualified and all those things, and then looking for houses another 30 days, and then closing another 30 days. So it's going to be 90 days. So that's the difference. There's a timeline for everything, and every person and individual has their own timeline.
Yep. I've had the same conversation with clients, and I've always going like this. So think about it as getting a steak. If I go to Logan's Steakhouse, I usually have it out in about 10, 12 minutes. I go to Ruth Chris, I might have it out in about 45 minutes, but you know which one tastes better? Ruth Chris.
Exactly right.
So
I'm kind of surprised. Have you ever actually been to Ruth Chris? You're not.
Wow. How old do you think I am? I can't afford that.
No, because I know how
I'm very,
you and your wife are.
yes, but sometimes you must splurge every once in a while.
Okay, that's it. Yeah. I'm glad you know that.
Yes, but there's nothing wrong with being frugal.
No, there's nothing wrong with being frugal.
Absolutely not.
No, I'm not saying that. You're just very frugal, so I'm impressed.
Hey, I'm very frugal with my customers' money too, so I don't want them to spend any more than they have to.
I know you're frugal. He's as frugal as. Well, I've met a lot of very frugal people, but he's up there in the top tier of frugality.
Well, that's good.
Yes. Yeah. I'm frugal, but not like that.
My wife is very frugal, and I'm happy to have her on my team. Because,
Yes.
that makes me be a little more frugal.
Yeah.
Yes. And my wife and I have always joked, like when we first got together and we went grocery shopping, she'd stare at butter and it'd be like 5 cents difference. And at this point in time, I'm like, I don't care, just choose one. She's like, well, no, this one or this one. So she's frugal too, which actually cuts out a lot of arguments that we watch other couples have. So I'm like, hey, at least I married the right one.
Exactly. That's the important thing, right?
Yep. So when you're looking towards the future, and let's just say your ultimate goal, so not saying it's going to happen, but the thing, if you were to say, hey, look, this is my dream, what would be your dream in the next 10 years?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question. I love real estate enough now that I think I'm going to be doing this for long term. And I'm getting pretty old. I'm probably as older than Rick, but we can have that offline to see that. But I think just being able to grow the business enough that my wife are, as you said, frugal people, till we have enough that we are able to do what we want to do, and that's travel and do other things. Visit grandchildren and those type of things. All those things are important, and to have the time and the means to do that is really what I'm looking forward to.
It's one of the beauties, I think, of real estate, same as mortgage, is that we don't have a retirement age and we don't have to retire. There are so many agents who I work with that have been in the business for 30, 40, 50 years. I was just talking to one, she's in her 70s and still doing great, and has a team, and you're able to slow down, right? And go do your travel and all that. But you're still able to make a good income, and because it's so fun, it's enjoyable to do.
Yeah. I think, I don't know who said it, but they said if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life, right? And I think that's true. I don't think this is as much work as I do just getting to know people and building the relationships.
Right. Yeah, because that's really what we talked about. It's really about the relationships. That's what it's all about.
All right. So I got to ask you this one last time. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, talk real estate, whether buying, selling, or they just have questions, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Call or text 720-891-6223. 720-891-6223.
Call or text that number if you have any real estate needs. James is waiting on your call or text.
Absolutely. Buy, sell, investments, whatever you need, I'm here to take care of you.
Perfect.
Rick's been listening to me in infomercials. Did you hear that whole little tagline?
I think I got that from you.
Probably.
And if you have any real mortgage needs, not real estate needs, call James for real estate needs. For any mortgage needs, give Ian or I a call, 317-672-1938, 317-672-1938, or you can look us up online at hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. And please follow us for more Indy's Real Estate Gurus.
And a reminder, if you have any friends, family, coworkers looking to buy, sell, refinance, let us know. We'd be more than happy to. James, thank you for joining us on our show. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you. One thing that you mentioned before is what I do.
Yes, we need to talk about that.
Yes.
Before we end.
So we discussed before we started the show that I'm actually the vice chair for the state of Indiana for ESGR, which is Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. We are basically a DoD volunteer organization that educates and helps both employers and service members understand their rights and responsibilities under the Uniform USERA, Uniform Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act. So I spend a lot of time doing that, and I really enjoy it. We work with veterans a lot in that process, and it's really been rewarding.
Yeah. Well, thanks for doing that. That's really important. I think that's a very important. I think we mistreat our veterans. I don't think, maybe not mistreat, maybe that is, but we certainly don't treat them the way they should be treated when somebody gives up what they gave to protect us.
I think that's a true statement. We neglect them a lot, and I think that And sometimes the veteran themselves thinks, well, that's okay because I'm not there to give the accolades, but I am there to serve the country and really is that patriotic duty towards the country. And I think we need to make sure that we take good care of them.
Yeah, we do, and support them.
Yep.
I agree. And with that, do you have anything else?
Nope. I think we'll let James go to work because he's about to get tons of phone calls. So
That's awesome.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Rick Whitman's NMLS number 664589. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.